Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome.
Hey everyone,
Hi, good
Yay.
morning.
All
slash
right.
evening, afternoon, wherever you're tuning in.
So we still have a couple people floating in, which is great. We've got so many people, which is fantastic. So welcome to the VO Dojo's Demo Lesson Derby.
Whoop, whoop.
This is part of it. We're doing this in the slot of our Get to Know VO slot that we do the third Wednesday of every month. And this month it is our Demo Lesson Derby. We are so excited. I'm Tish Hicks. I'm the Master Sensei here in Burbank, California. And we're so excited to have our demo producers, Brittany Cox and Ryan Ricks from Next Level Voice Demos with us. And our intrepid facilitator, Kelsey V, who will be here making everything go. Um, yeah, so there's a couple things that we do at the dojo. There's so many things that we do at the dojo that's so exciting, but when it comes up, we do this twice a year, and when it comes up, it's always such a cool and inspiring experience. So we would love for you to I think Kelsey's got you guys saying where you're from, and we'd also be great to hear where you're at in your voiceover, if you're in your voiceover journey, if you're I mean, I guess we could say, are you pre-demo? Do you have a demo? Are you looking to redo your demo? Like what kind of where are you at? Those would be good things for us to know. Um, I'll have Brittany and Ryan introduce themselves a little bit, and then we'll well, why don't we have you guys introduce yourself, and then we'll talk about how this morning is going to go. Thank you to everyone who sent in or delivered their demos. We don't talk about submissions here at the dojo. We find it a disempowering word. So whenever someone else is using the word submit your demo, submit your anything, we always like to say deliver our product. So thank you for those who delivered your demos for this experience. Um, well, why don't you guys introduce yourselves, and then we'll talk about what the whole morning will look like.
I love it. You want
Brilliant.
to start us off?
I'm Ryan. Done. No, you go.
Hi, guys. I'm Brittany Cox. I'm a voice actor and voice director in Burbank, California. And Ryan and I have been producing demos for over 10 years, which is crazy. As a voice actor, I work in commercial, promo, animation, and video game. And I started in narration, so have touched everything that we're going to talk about today, which is very exciting. And as a voice director, I'm now working in video games, animation pitches, and narrative podcast, which is very exciting.
She's awesome. So
And
good.
this is my sweet husband, Ryan.
Hi, I'm Ryan again. Nice to meet you all. Thanks for being here. And I am the technical half of the Next Level Voice Demos team. So Brittany's bringing in the voice direction and the voice acting perspective. I work in audio post-production and have for a very long time, doing anything from re-recording, mixing, dialogue editing. I started out in voice casting and music licensing and branding for big commercial clients at a studio up in Seattle. I've written music for video games for the past few years and won some awards with our own original narrative podcast for dialogue editing, sound design, and mixing, and things like that. So I'm bringing the technical half of the puzzle to the party today.
And since there are so many of you from all over the country and beyond, I assume, we are bringing, we have worked with people all over the world, and we have worked all over the world. So we're bringing all that experience here to you today to try and take these demos, these mythical demos that everybody's like, oh, I have to have this thing. Oh my gosh, it's a really big step. And we're going to demystify it a little bit. And we're going to take it out of this place of, oh my God, it needs to be perfect. into more of it's a tool. It is a tool for your voiceover business. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. And we're all big proponents of actionable steps, things that are helpful, things that you can take moving forward, and questions to think about in regards to your demo, or if you want to, you're looking to make a demo, things to think about.
Yeah, and I think to piggyback on that, just to kind of acknowledge the elephant in the room, right, is there is a paradox when it comes to demos, and that is this thing that there is some subjectivity to it in the sense of like your demo is never going to be all things to all people. However, even though, we're sharing our opinions and we're bringing our expertise and all of that stuff today, there are some things outside of the realm of subjectivity that are common across all demos, no matter what type of demo they are, that could be a distraction for the people that are using them, which could prevent you from having the impact that you want in your branding and in your career when you're submitting your demo or sharing your work with casting directors and agents, and how they are connecting with you. So we're going to be talking about that stuff as well. So it's just, I think it's important to acknowledge that, like, yes, there is some subjectivity to this. Your demo is never going to be all things to all people. And there are some very like A, B, C, D, G, F, B through Z things.
Commonalities.
That we can all talk about in a very actionable way to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success and not kind of your demo's not getting in the way.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about all that stuff. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. All right, we're done.
So before, so let me share, we call this the Demolition Derby, because we're basically the three of us are going to listen down to the demos we've received, and in the friendliest, most supportive and collaborative way, run them through the gauntlet that a demo in its various ways that you might be using demo in your business, which we will also, we can also touch upon. We will also touch upon how does it get listened to? What are we listening for? So we'll run everything through a gauntlet. We'll put things that catch our ear into the second round. That's the demo listen derby part. And then we'll listen to at least one to here's a whole demo and here's a whole demo together, so that we get a sense of what the process is of how, when people are listening to your demo, how it might happen. Everyone has their own process, but not to be surprised of, this is how cut and dry it is, like it can be, which means how good, and again, not like, oh, it has to be perfect, but just your demo needs to be good, and it needs to be, so how good it needs to be, and what we're listening for. So let me share this, and I'll put it in the chat too, so you guys have it as a resource. Let me just do that. Ooh, I was just saying, it's so chilly here. It's so chilly in California. My little heater's
It's
just
a
starting to
freezing
boil.
50 some degrees. Ugh.
Actually, Kelsey, can you put the link to this PDF on the in the chat while I do this?
Yes.
I'll share it here. So where did that go? Hold on a second. My
It's
computer.
very
It's
zoomed
very
in.
zoomed in.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
That looks
Okay.
good.
So, yeah. So here's some things that will run the gauntlet. So we'll be thinking about first impressions of your voice. Does it pop? Does it grab me in the first 3 seconds? Does it cut through? Can I hear your voice first? Is your voice something that grabs me, that like makes me listen and come forward? Connection. Does it move me? Is it true? Am I relating to it? Likability. Do I want to spend more time with you when it's done? Like, ooh. And most importantly, your you-ness. There's, especially in this age of AI, when robots can say the words in a pleasant manner, what is it about you that's coming through? And do I get a sense of that from your demo? Do I know you when it's done? Does it share what's uniquely you? Then there's a middle layer of impressions. Although for Ryan, I think probably the first like, 1 millisecond is going to be where there's the production quality fit in. The sound, music, the effects, voice first. Does it sound professional? Does it sound real, like a real spot? We'll talk. We'll give insights into all of that. Competitive skills. Does it sound like something that I'd hear on air, nationally or regionally? Does it sound like a real spot? Range. Do I have a good sense of all the facets of your voice? I love that. Like, do we have 360 degrees? Do we have, and I'd like the word facets because it's like facets of a diamond, like which part of you reflects this way and makes the rainbow places. Um, Contrast. What is different? Does it all sound exactly the same? Which is different from having a through line of a consistent brand, right? But if does it sound like the room has been painted in all the same color? Where do we have contrasts? And where does it take us on a ride? Versatility. Can I interpolate what you can do in between, right? If this spot feels blue and this spot feels red, I'm going to be able to go like, "Ooh, I'll bet you she can do purple really well because she can do this and this." And I think versatility also is an indication of directability. Oh, she can do that and that. Oh, I'll bet you she can be directed to anywhere in there. And then um, energy, there's a tool we use at the dojo that's called the cellometer. So levels of intimacy, energy, and maybe proximity too. So we want in whatever genre you're working in, your demo is in, there to be this level of being able to be quiet and intimate, and then also the biggest range of that, right? So how does this take me on a ride through the cellometer? And then lasting impressions. Um, is this current? Is it up to date? Is it reflecting current trends? Is it reflecting the current iteration of that brand? One of the many, many strong points of working with Brittany and Ryan as demo producers is they do an amazing amount of making sure that everything is really current for the brand right now, and then that it fits your voice, that it's both ways. um Humor. Does it make me laugh? Does it find you're funny? That's always a great in. Like I always listen for that place where I'm like, okay, I have an LOL moment. That's a good thing. Pacing. Do the spots flow at the right rate? Surprise, something you weren't expecting, or wow, like the whole thing was like, wow, that was lovely. Um, Rhythm. We were just talking about this. Does it take me on an enjoyable ride? And more importantly, do I want it to go again as soon as it's done? I always think of like whenever a demo gets queued up, it's like the beginning of a roller coaster, and then woo, wee, wow, woo. And then when you're finished, it should make you go like, ooh, I want to hear that again. That was so good. Um, Vibe, what's your thing? Like we should be able to go like, oh, I know what their thing is. His thing is that, yeah. Um, and most importantly is undeniability. We want your demo to be like, oh my God, let's get this person on the phone. Like we want to work with this person. So those are the things that we're going to be listening to and listening for and talking about. Those are things that you can be keeping in mind. Um, let's see. Brittany and Ryan, I don't know why there's a red spot on this, but there is.
Who
I think
knows?
somebody tried to
Little,
take
little,
notes and it
uh,
wasn't it was a public note.
anyway, this is the really important part. Do you guys want to take on the who is listening and why, and recognize that your demo is going to be listened in different contexts?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
don't we talk about that, and then you guys can explain how the demo listen derby will run.
Great.
I love that.
Great.
Well,
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing to kind of talk about is like how demos get used, and like, specifically coming from my experience in casting, it's important to remember that today we're not casting for a specific job. However,
today
when
in the demo derby.
yeah, today in the demo listen derby. Um, However, when your demo gets listened to out in the real world, it will be listened to with an ear for an actual job. So the way that this looks is like after you make your demo and you send it out into the void and it makes its way onto some lists and it makes its way into some casting rosters and things like that. That demo will then get sent into different briefs for different clients depending on how great of a match you are. And then the way that it works is once your demo is in this pile of 50 to 100 people, whatever it might be,
500.
It's been a lot. It can be a lot. Then it was my job in the casting office to go through and listen to all of these demos and to pare them down to the top 10, 15 at the most to send to the clients for approval. And then they would listen to those demos in more detail, and then they would either cast directly off of those demos for the particular job, or they would request auditions. They would hear something they really liked on somebody's demo and say, oh, like, I would really love to hear them just read on this or whatever it is. And the demo would open up the audition opportunities. So that's how it works, is either the demo itself gets you the job or the demo gets you in the conversation for an audition.
And then on top of that, demos are also used to get an agent if that is something you want to do. And so when an agent is listening to a demo, I just went through this myself, so I'm very up to date on all that. When an agent is listening for a demo, they're listening for an ear of like, who are you? Do I want to work with you? Do you fill a hole in my roster? How can I, as an agent, sell you and sell your voice? How can we work together to further your career and, everybody make money? So your demo is never listened to in a void. It's always with an ear of fitting a job, a brief, or filling a spot on a roster. So already you want to create a sense of who you are as a human, especially with commercial, almost as if like if you walked into the room, you are your commercial demo. That is what we're getting. It's also creating a sense of professionalism and trustability. Like, do we trust you? Trustability. I made that word up.
I love
Good
it.
morning.
Trustability.
So if I put you in front of a national client like Honda, do I trust that you can take direction and show up and be professional and know what this is? Can I trust you with my fancy client? So all of this goes into when someone is hearing your demo. And so these are things we're going to explore a lot today as we're listening through stuff, but that's kind of the framework.
Yeah, exactly. And to keep in mind this idea that, today we're not hiring for a Honda commercial or whatever it is. So when we're listening to your demos, it's more about the experience of what comes out of the speakers, right? It's those things that we ran through quickly on the gauntlet sheet of like, what is the impression? Do I feel that this person knows what they're talking about? And in terms of how we're going to go about it, we're going to kind of set up a mock real world casting scenario where we're not going to listen to the entirety of the demo right from the get-go. And that's a really important thing when it comes to understanding how your demo gets interfaced with out in the world. It is not the case that you send your demo out and everybody sits there and listens to the whole thing from start to finish. So it becomes really important when you're structuring your demo and you're considering order and your branding and all of this stuff to take into account that people are going to skip around and they're going to listen. So the advice you would hear, or that, you hear a lot is like, put your strongest stuff up front and put your weakest stuff at the end. Terrible advice, because what if I skip to the end? You know what I mean? Like, and this is how we're going to be listening to the demos in the first go. And this is how I would get through 300 of them to get them down more and more and more, as I would listen to a little bit at the beginning, listen to a little bit in the middle, and listen to a little bit at the end, and getting those snapshots of those places. What I wanted to feel when listening to that demo was, do I believe this person or does it feel put on? How does it sound when it comes out of the speakers? Like, does this feel true or does this feel like they recorded this in their garage and went on YouTube Music and put some music underneath it. These impressions create a sense of trust and a sense of like relatability with you and your work. Because you have to remember, until you walk into the studio, you're a name in a list. And so it's really important that when somebody clicks on that name in that list, that what comes out of the speakers is representing you the way that you want. And so that's kind of how we're going to start this process today, is we're going to skip around in the demos and really get a sense of how fast these impressions are built, and so we're going to start there. And then after we go through the demos like that, then we'll go and we'll listen in more detail, because at some point, somebody important is going to listen to your whole demo from beginning to end.
You just have to get through those first little moments.
It will get listened to as an entire thing. And so all of this comes into play, and we'll talk more in detail as we go through, as we get more hands-on with these things about the structure and like what should come first. And, again, we've already said like why saving your weakest stuff for the end is not a great idea, and all of these things. And we'll get more hands-on as we actually listen to the demos together.
So it's like play along, you're right there with us. And yeah, did we miss anything, Tish? I feel like
no. Two other thoughts that came to my mind. I don't think Sensei Kat's with us, but since Kat Campion is one of our JoJo senseis, and she has built a beautiful career from Minneapolis into working internationally. And when you're working internationally, booking off your demo is a real thing. So that's another place, like having a good, strong demo is like you can just book stuff off of your demo. So that's great. Also, if it becomes between you and somebody else, advertising producers and creative directors might go like, okay, so here's their auditions, what else? So that's another thing. And then the other point that I wanted to bring up, and this is something that's really important for us at the dojo in terms of how, I think one of the first questions like, when do I know I'm ready for my demo? And making a demo is one thing. Making sure you're able to deliver what is on that demo and beyond is another thing. So one barometer that we like to talk about is, are you able to pick up any piece of copy in that, whatever genre you're doing? You don't necessarily need to do all of the genres at once, but in whatever genre you're making a demo, are you able to pick up that piece of copy and nail it within 1 or 2 takes without any direction or coaching? That's a really good barometer and it doesn't have to be perfect, but are you in that ballpark? It's not just putting together a good demo, it's making sure that you're ready to deliver on that demo, on what is on that demo. I think
100%.
I think those were the thoughts that I had. Oh, and then let's also make sure that if we step into the realm of the created reality of what might be happening, a demo is a very personal thing. We are very sensitive and from the heart people because we are artists as well as entrepreneurs and business people. So everything that we are doing here today is coming out of good, from the heart, wanting to help, nothing personal, only in benefit of you and everybody here. And our opinions are our opinions. And so I think that's part of the journey of having a product and putting it out in the world. So if there's something you're like, what? That's ridiculous, or whatever your response is, notice what comes up, notice what we're saying and take it in and what comes up for you. And, then you'll have something else to reflect on and say, oh, wow, that's interesting. I'll take a look at it. But everyone here is for the benefit of you and for the benefit of all of us. So that is the heart of the dojo. That is the heart of next level voice demos. So and then if something's coming up for you that's part of the internal training, which is the heart of the dojo as well, then you can examine what comes up for you, and that becomes a great learning experience as well. Also, I think we have a really nice blend of a lot of people here and a certain amount of demos, so we should be able to get through all. If it ends up not being the case, we are going to invite everyone here to sign up for one-on-one time with us in the next, so we want to talk to each of you individually. So two times that you can be one-on-one. So you won't, so I also want everyone to relax, like you're not going to miss anything. You're not going to
Exactly.
miss anything. So
And if we don't get to your demo, get on all of our calendars. If we
yeah.
don't, if we're unable to go fully in depth and you have further questions that we don't get to about your demo, get on our calendars, please. We want to make sure that you guys get as much out of this as possible because we only have some limited time. So
Yeah. Yeah. All
well,
right.
should we listen?
Yeah, let's do it. And if you guys have questions, put them in the chat. We'll get to them as well. And I think Kelsey put up a poll. Thanks for putting your input on that. That helps us to be able to calibrate. So we'll be taking that down. So, but if you haven't had a chance to look at that, just do it, and then we'll take it down and get it out of the way. So, awesome. Well, take it away.
All right.
That's crazy.
So we're going to share our screen so that you guys can listen and play along, so that everyone can hear the demos and stuff. And we everything's split up between we got a lot of commercial and we got a lot of like character type demos. So we're going to start with commercial because that's kind of a good baseline for everything, and we can get really in the weeds with all of that.
Indeed. So before we start, do you want to name like 3 big things we're listening for and what makes up like a quote unquote good commercial demo?
Yeah.
Or an impressionable commercial demo?
So as we, just like Ryan was saying, today we're just listening of, all the things that Tish was running through in our Gauntlet PDF. But today, as we're clicking through in this first couple of seconds, the middle and the end, the big thing is, do we want to listen to more? Are there things that grab us that we're like, oh, I'm interested to listen to more? Do I believe the things that we're clicking on? And does it sound right? Like, does it sound like a commercial? As humans, we hear commercials all the time, even if we're not paying attention. You're driving in your car, you're watching a football game, you're hearing and experiencing commercials. And so you as a listener, it becomes very clear of like, that doesn't sound like a commercial I've heard. You have so much knowledge within you. So that's what also we're going to be listening to. Do these feel real? Do I feel like these people are working? And then we go through the list and all that good stuff. But that's kind of what we're going to start listening for. So please listen along and start to hear what you notice, because we're going to talk about the things that we 3 notice. But you might also notice some things.
Love it. All right. Let's jump into some commercial demos.
Rebecca.
Listen to Rebecca's demo.
Oh, yeah, right there. My skin's a little dry. I think I'll get a tropical body polish. Longmont tradition, 30 years in the making. This heartwarming musical retell it all. Our solution is a process we call Scratch and Sniffy Companion. They're family. If something...
Interesting. So, right out the gate, a couple of things that I noticed, and I like to split these up. We didn't talk about this yet, but a really easy kind of buckets to talk about are performance and production.
Yes.
Performance is all actory stuff, intentions, the quality of their voice, all of those fun things. Production choices are the things that go in to support those things. Music, sound design, the overall presentation and feel of all the things. So right out the gate for me, production-wise, this feels pretty good. Like, I didn't notice anything that felt super crazy or distracting. That being said, a lot of it felt very generic and not very specific. And also, what was really interesting from a performance standpoint is energetically, everywhere I clicked, it all felt the same. I didn't feel like I got a sense of Rebecca or was getting a different impression of Rebecca from where I started in the beginning and then in the middle and then in the end. So for me, listening to that, I was like, oh, like I don't know about this. Like it left me feeling a little bit middle of the road was the impression I got just clicking through quickly.
And Tish, you were
Oh, I was just say, I think we can create a practice of like yes and because I agree, or if there's like or you know, so I agree with what Ryan was saying. The other thing that I thought of, it's performance, production, and then also sometimes content, right? Like there was something about the first spot that I was like, ooh, what is that? Like it felt like almost a little sexy right at the
I
top. I was
had
like
the
a
same
little uncomfortable, like, oh, not that I'm uncomfortable with sexuality, but it was like, oh, okay, that's great. And then
it
there
makes
was
you wonder, where is this going? What's
yeah,
about to
it
happen?
was like, yeah. So these are the things that were like, oh, what was that? And not like ew, but just like, oh, okay. And then there was something in the last spot that I thought it said crotch and sniff, and I was thinking over there. And so then I was like, oh, wait a minute. So like, so I'm sure that with a, you know, I'm sure that that's not, but I'm just saying like that was my thing. Now, the things that I do like and I do hear about Rebecca is that strong and clear, super strong and clear, um, like a clear tone to the voice, a nice light, young strength, um, and then I think and an enthusiasm, which interestingly in the things we punched on were the well kind of that laid back energy. So
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, no, I felt the same way that the starting with the efforts in the beginning was really off-putting to me because I was like, where is this going? Oh my goodness. Um, so just something to think about. Also, this demo was 1:30.
Ooh,
Industry standard is 60 seconds. You have 60 seconds to show off what you can do. And some people are like, I'm an actor, I can do so much. Of course you can. Think of a commercial demo, a 60-second commercial demo, as leave them wanting more. Show the different dynamics that we were talking about, the different range, and then ask them, leave them wanting more, the client wanting more of like, I need to hear more. It's exactly like that ride that Tish was talking about. So already clicking on this demo's too long, would be my first thing. And on top of that, I absolutely agree that Rebecca, you have a lovely voice and you have this youthful energy. And I just clicking through, it almost felt like we were trying to be a sexy person instead of that being who you actually are. So I'd be curious to hear who you are if you walked into a room, because I have a feeling you don't walk into a room getting a massage. So we want to hear who you are, especially in that first spot, who you are as a human. Those are my impressions.
Nice.
So yeah.
So
and on that sexy thing, not that you're trying to be sexy, but how is Rebecca sexy? Like, what's your version of sexy?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
so like already we're one demo in. We clicked through really quickly and look at all of the stuff that came up
That we're
just in
hearing.
clicking through this thing. This is what we're talking about. It is not, this is like what Brittany was talking about, where it's like we all have this internal catalog of what commercials sound like, what authenticity comes, like how
Yeah.
that hits us. It's the same reason why when you listen to your favorite song on the radio that you sing along compared to the other 90 that you listen to and you don't. You know, it's like there's this thing that we all connect to so quickly
It's undeniable.
and it doesn't take us sitting here with a focused attention listening to the whole demo from start to finish to get it.
Yeah.
Like we were all picking up on all these things really quickly. So I think that's really important to just acknowledge that how quickly this stuff happens.
Yeah.
And then let's
Yeah.
bounce to the next one.
Yeah, and let's see if we can keep our points going so we can get through all of them.
Yes.
You know that's
Yeah.
never going to happen.
We will do our best.
That's never going to happen. It just doesn't happen. It's not realistic.
Alex Hoagie. Thirsty? Let's fix that. Coca-Cola Fizz. Coca-Cola. Because confidence isn't a look. And some seriously good eats.
Okay. All right. So let's start with our big buckets, right? Performance, production, right? I'm going to start with production. I'll let Brittany and Tish talk about performance stuff. Production wise, we don't need slates on demos.
Correct.
Slates on demos are from the 1930s. And
He's exaggerating.
they're from the
But
1930s.
definitely the 90s, yeah.
And it's not necessary anymore because we have your name on the file, right? So slates are not necessary. They're more of a distraction than anything, and it kind of is that joke of like you're telling your age or you're showing your inexperience if that happens. So we can take that off. Second thing is there was no production support in this demo, which I thought was a really interesting choice. Not necessarily a bad thing. However, I felt like it needed that support in this case. And also, I noticed right out the gate that it was 1 minute and 21 seconds.
Something like that, yeah.
So that's 21 seconds we could cut. And that first Coke spot, when I clicked like 10 seconds further into the demo, was still going, talking about fizz. So I feel like if something actionable, Alex, if you were going to rework this particular thing, is that Coke spot could get chopped in half to help get you down even to 1:10 right out the gate.
Yeah. And I love, what a unique, interesting voice. I loved the sound of the voice. However, the spots and the acting intentions didn't feel real. Coca-Cola as a brand is very natural. They want real people. They don't want anything put on. And even clicking through that Coke spot, it all felt like I'm trying to do a thing instead of being who you are. And so I thought that there was some work to be done on connecting to the copy as a human versus how we think it should sound or think it should feel. So I felt there was a disconnect there.
Yeah, and it sounded like you did it yourself, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Just don't present it as a demo, present it as samples. Like when we're starting out, make samples of what you have. If someone needs to hear your voice, do what you can. Just don't present it as a demo, because then it seems like, oh, that's it. Okay, that's a demo. Okay. And we don't like the but is another switch word. And super marketable age range. We just did a Fight Club, which is our working pro workout, with Jim Kennelly from Lotus Productions in New York City last night. And Jim is just on the cutting edge of everything. And we talked about how everything now is like, and especially since it sounds like you're Gen Z, Alex, like just relax and talk. It's just about really just sharing what's really going on now more than ever. And you have that young, like, I'm figuring things, I'm here and I know some stuff and I'm figuring some stuff out. Like you have that, you are that. So let that be. So, yeah, so lots of good things, and then things that you can develop and keep on developing the nuances and getting it so that it's up to speed to get on the highway, right? Yeah. So you can join people who've been driving the Autobahn for 25 years. That's what we talk about here. Are you ready to do it? Yeah. So lots of good stuff there. Lots of good stuff.
On to Pamela.
Thanks for sending it in, Alex. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
From Ag Expert, it's the FCC Knowledge Podcast, a show that features great conversations about the business of...
Don't they? We know it's the little things and the big things about a place that makes your wedding days walk differently. Yet we have been wearing men's work boots for decades.
Okay, so what I noticed right out the gate was that none of these felt like commercials.
Yeah, agreed. These all felt like, I feel like Pamela might have booked that first spot, but it's like a podcast introduction or something like that. But everything that we clicked through felt like it was for narration type stuff, and whether it was the mix or and the writing and all the things, it just didn't feel like commercials. It didn't feel like we understood what a commercial is.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a good reminder of, like, you know, in a casting office, this is how they are relating to you, you know, as they're seeing James, Pamela, you know, Anderson, Scotty, you know, they're seeing names. And when they click on this thing, everybody wants it to be good.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to hear something awesome. Nobody's clicking through hundreds of demos, you know, and I was doing this for multiple jobs every day. So it was 200 for this job, then another 200 for this job, then another 200 for this job. I didn't want to be miserable or like thrown off, or I wasn't looking for problems.
Yeah.
You know, I was listening for something amazing. I wanted to find the perfect person as quickly as I could so that I could move on to the next thing. And I think this is a really important example of how, you know, when you present your demo and it's a commercial demo and all of this stuff, how
you're setting an expectation.
You're setting an expectation, and it needs to deliver on that expectation so that nothing distracts from you.
Because your voice is delightful.
Right.
Like, your voice is delightful.
There's no reason why Pamela couldn't put together, you know, like in a commercial context with actual commercial scripts, actual commercial production, direction, all that stuff, why Pamela wouldn't be a total badass. There's no reason why. It's just in this context with this thing is in the context of our casting thing, this would be an easy thing to be like, nope, not that, because I didn't trust it. I didn't believe it as being commercials, as being the real thing. And so it was an easy no. And so that's why these things are really important, is because we don't want an easy no. We want to, oh yeah, done. Put, like, she's great. Yeah. We want the easy yes, not the easy no.
Yeah.
I really like the first spot. I was like, ooh, yeah, I like that first spot. Like that, I wanted to listen more. And then then just even relaxing more, like the attitudes, those attitude shifts that I could hear, and that's good. Like that's a different angle or a different aspect. And I think on the other ones we heard, we could go even more contrast, that it started to say, oh, she's kind of like clean, crisp, a little snark, or a little raised eyebrow, like friendly raised eyebrow. So yeah, how can you make that even clearer? And I'm kind of excited to, like, ooh, what is the badass Pamela? Like what is the badass Pamela when on the, like, let's do this? Like, what's your maker's mark? What's your maker's mark ad, or something like that? Which may not be part of it, but that's something like, that would be interesting to hear.
Yeah.
There's some strength and like, let's do it ness that's in there. And maybe there's other spots that we haven't heard, but yeah. So
it was just the framework, I think, let you down, Pamela, in this one. Yeah.
I did appreciate that it was under 60 seconds, though.
So good job.
That's awesome.
That was great.
All right. James.
At Morgan Stanley, your financial future isn't just a... Hey, if life were perfect, your cat would clip her own nails. But with kids, you never know what they're going to want to eat. To millions. Build a lasting... I did what?
I feel like James is working. To me, I was like, I know exactly where he belongs. I would trust him with my money. I feel like James knows his brand and knows what he books. And I believed every single client that I heard, and the cat thing made me giggle. How I felt.
Great.
Yeah.
and getting the two sides of, like, and also like this really interesting, the maturity and the gravitas, but also the twinkle in the eye, and also like fun thing, like with the kids, like, oh yeah. And it made me laugh. Can you guys feel that? Like when you're like, that's genuine. I really laughed at that. That's super funny. So then we know that James has a sense of humor, and he can deliver in timing and a sense of humor. And Yeah, and couldn't you just cast him in so many things?
Yeah.
Like when you say, oh, and trust. Oh, I trust that I'm gonna show up to a session and we're gonna play. We're gonna
Mhm.
play, and he's gonna be able to deliver. The
Yeah.
like it's not a brain thing, guys. It's a heart and gut thing
Yeah.
in some ways. Yeah. And it was consistent. We did 5 skips of the stone, right? As opposed to doing one and then, oh, wait, we're still in that. Yeah. 5 skips of the stone. It was like, oh, delightful. Yes. Yes. Good, good, good. Yay. Right. Yeah. Um, yeah, super good. Super good.
Cool. All right. Let's bounce around. Let's do another one.
Wait, should we put James in the
Oh
in the
yeah,
next
give him
round?
give him a purple.
Purple's the color for the
Purple's the
day.
color.
Purple means we'll come back and we'll listen to
Listen more.
we'll listen to the whole thing. All right.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Healthcare. Why? Where you put your money matters. Put it in the cart and live happy. Great.
All right. So right out the gate, it's a minute 23. And in some of the places we clicked, there was a lot of dead air in there. So it makes me feel that like some of the spots are not written well for the context of a demo.
Yeah.
Also, these did not feel like real commercials to me. The writing and the flavor of them didn't feel like something that I've heard on Spotify, on the radio, on YouTube, on TV. So my internal compass of what commercials sound and feel like, it was a miss on that compass for me. And so I think there's some opportunities to look at this from that lens. Because what a lot of people forget, and kind of if there was one big takeaway from today that Brittany and I would want to leave you with, is that your demo doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Your demo exists just like all of your favorite songs, right? You have a catalog of songs that you love, and you love them for various different reasons. In the same way, these demos, they get listened to, all the time, and it's all being listened to one after the other, after the other, after the other. And so it's really important to know that your demo needs to stand up no matter where people are going to be listening to it. And also that when it comes to, well, how do I know that my demo feels like a real commercial? Or how do I know that it's hitting the right way? It's trusting yourself to just pay attention. Like, instead of fast forwarding through the commercials, just take a listen and then listen to what you're putting together for your samples or for your demo. And just ask yourself honestly, like, does my performance feel the same? Does the production that I'm choosing or that my demo producer is doing, like, does this feel like it exists in the same universe, or does it just feel like it's way off in its own thing? And just by paying attention to these little things and just by paying attention to what's out there and trusting your own internal gut, as opposed to like making a creative thing within this very narrow whatever, while ignoring all of the innate knowledge you have just by existing in 2024. Don't do that to yourself.
Yeah.
Like just listen. Like you're so much smarter than you give yourself credit for. And all of that commercial wisdom is in there, and I just want you to use it.
Because with that point, Lena has such an interesting voice, and I immediately was like, "Ooh, these commercials, these brands, these things," and I felt as we click through, there were moments where I was like, "Is this a character demo?" Because it like the singing didn't feel like a commercial, like singing in a commercial. There is space for that if that is a strength of yours, but it felt more like a character moment. So then I got confused about what I was listening to. And as a person in casting or as an agent, as soon as you get confused, that's a reason to say no. Because you start to lose that trust. So I think in this context, the structure and everything kind of let you down, Lena.
Yeah, and I think inherently fascinating voice, and like Brittany said, ooh, I could see where it is. that it also felt like there was still a little working too hard. Like I could hear whimsy. Oh, yes, whimsy. And then it was a little working too hard at whimsy, or I could hear concern or care and compassion. Working a little too hard on that. And then I would imagine that the singing has some context that we might not have heard, but it also seemed like, oh, what is that? And then figuring out I mean, I know Lena is a dojo member, so I know that she is multilingual. And I think we got a little of that, a little sense of that, and maybe if there's listening more. But yeah, just I just wanted to relax a little bit more, and it didn't sound like real spots to me either. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right,
All
on to
right.
Camilla.
But thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Welcome to the Quaker Breakfast Table, where names that bring more to the table. That's the mark of a maker. Take a sip on the sunny side with Lipton iced green tea and a way forward. Introducing my Walgreens, a whole new way.
Okay, so this is really
Interesting.
this is a
I
very
love this. I love the things we get to talk about in this demo.
yeah, this is really interesting. So sonically, just as like I'm gonna put on this song, I'm gonna put on this demo.
Yeah.
I felt such a difference from some of the other demos we've heard today, where it felt a lot more present. It felt a lot more like put together and professional.
Yeah.
And like you could just tell that it had a certain level of production put into it,
Mhm.
which was really nice. That being said, what was really interesting for me was listening through, there was a little bit of a disconnect between the performances, the production, and the clients, and how all of that interfaces together. For example, like the Walgreens spot, I know because we were just heavily researching Walgreens stuff for a client of ours. And as soon as I heard the music and I heard the name Walgreens come out of her mouth, I was like,
Nope.
that's not what a Walgreens spot sounds
Yeah.
like. And so it was very interesting to where it's like, oh, it sounds better. Oh, it feels more professional, but oh, that's not how that brand actually sounds. But wait, that's not how that brand actually sounds. And I was like so excited, and then I was like, oh
no.
That's how I felt.
And that's the thing too, especially when you're submitting to casting directors and agents, assume that they are actively casting commercials and they are surrounded by current campaigns. So not to say that like your stuff has to sound like what's out right now and it's going to be dated within a year. Not to say that at all. But it is important to have a general knowledge of what types of voices and what types of production brands are actually using. Because, for example, the Quaker Oat spot, I was like, yes, I believe that. Oh my gosh, she must have booked that. She sounds so good. This is great. 100%. But then exactly, there was Walgreens and then there was one before it. And I know both of those brands don't use this type of voice and that type of production in any of their campaigns in the last couple of years. And so immediately I was like, oh, this is either an old demo or they're not actual spots. And for me, if I was on the edge between her and another demo, like maybe what was it, James's demo, I'd probably go with James because I believed all of his spots that we heard. That being said, Camilla loved the voice, and there were so many believable, wonderful moments. It was just those things pinged me, and that's always an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for me, so like, oh, just what a delicious cookie your voice is of this cool, young, grounded, like sometimes I call it wise young soul kind of voice, and just like an interesting combination of a little rasp or a little something that is really like, ooh, what's that? I like that. So I get a sense of you, and that's uniquely you. This is a little weird. It'd be interesting to hear you guys weigh in on this, Ryan and Brittany, as she remembers the English words. Um, just in where we bounced, it happened to be table and then table. Like
Oh,
the table was in both things. So I mean, obviously we're skipping around, but I was like, it took me a second. Like, oh, are we talking about the same table? Oh, it's a different table. Oh, this is a business table. Okay, yeah. So just like little things like that. Like we don't have to take responsibility for any place anyone's brain goes to, but if there's a word table in one thing, maybe something else. Then I don't know. That just there's little things like that. And then agree that there was some that were like, oh yeah. And then ooh, we can relax even more on that to get that undeniably trusting. Yeah. But
yeah.
your voice kind of matches your hair and it's
I know,
curly
I just saw your picture. I was like,
curly girl.
what?
I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a curly girl voice. Yeah. Um, not that that matters. You can have straight as it doesn't matter, but it is kind of like the whole
Yeah,
okay. So lots of good stuff there.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think to your point, Tish, about the table and table, that's why it's another kind of variation on like why the advice of like put your strong stuff up front and your not as strong stuff at the end is really bad advice because in regards to like the table and table thing, the structure of the demo is so important.
yeah,
And at a certain point, you have to come to this knowing what we're doing today. This is how people are going to interface with this thing. So how am I going to structure myself and my work so that when people interface with it in this way, that they're always going to hear something new and there's nothing that's going to be distracting
yeah,
in there from a writing standpoint, from a performance standpoint. So you can see how like having a really strong opener and a really strong middle and a really strong end is very advantageous
yeah,
to you, so that way we're getting all of these variations and things. While we're on the subject, just to give you like another little small takeaway for the thing, when you are considering order for your demo and you're sitting there like, well, what should come first and what is this and what is that? A great rule of thumb is to, especially in a commercial context, is think about your perception as a human, right? It's like, what Brittany was talking about from the beginning, like if you walked into a room,
who are you?
who are you? And you started shaking hands with people, that should be your first spot. Because even though we're clicking around through the demo, we're always hearing one thing first and then another. We're not listening to all the spots together at the exact same time. We're always listening one and then another and then another. So what comes first sets the stage for what comes next, which sets the stage for what comes next. So something to think about when you're exploring order with your demo is start with something that feels the most like you. So that way, even if, let's say that casting director is just having a crap of a day and they're like, I just have to get through this, and they only listen to that first spot, they got you. You know what I mean? Like they felt what they needed to get from you in that capacity. Another helpful, fun way to think about it is like, instead of, because you're like, you walk in and you're thinking of like, well, who am I when I like shake hands with all these invisible strangers? I'm imagining in my mind. Another way to think about it would be like if you went on a date with somebody,
Like a blind date.
and then they had to go tell their mom about you. What are like 2 or 3 things that you would want them to take away from that date to describe you to their mom? Would it be like, oh, mom, I just met Kamala and she was so amazing. Like
she was hilarious.
She was so funny and like really kind and super charming. That should be your branding for your commercial demo, and make sure that your first spot on there has all that in it. And it could be something else, like with James's demo, like, oh, like James, that dude is funny. Like he's so quirky, but he's like really relatable and down to earth. I could talk to James for hours. Fantastic. You've got your branding.
Yeah.
Like this is how we start to go these next layers deep, and we find things that are authentic, that are not put on, and that allow you the best chance to connect with perfect strangers, which Brittany and I are to most of you today. We know a couple people. Hi, Anderson. What's up? So like, just a little takeaway there while we're talking about these things. But thank you so much. That was great to listen to.
Tish.
And one more thought about like just demos in general. There's the what can happen in shifting the order and playing around with the order is kind of like, think about it like being able to rearrange the furniture in your room. That if you put the couch over here, it feels like this. But oh, if you put the couch over here, and then we get two end tables, oh, that feels much different. So when you have these pieces, there is a lot that you can shift. Like if you put everything all in an order, it feels like that. But if you put this over there and this over there, there's things that happen that you can sculpt and collaborate on with how it shifts. And another analogy about that is putting different colors together, right? If this color is next to this color, it looks like thing, but if like just the rules of receding, like if you put this color next to this color, this one comes forward, but if you put it next to this color, it goes backwards. So there's just like sculpting that can happen in that part of the process of when you have great pieces of furniture, which are your spots, rearranging them can change how the experience of the demo goes, which is also it's fascinating actually. You probably do an exercise of like go to someplace, download someone's demo and see what happens if you switch them around, like just cut it up. Like this is a little exercise to go into what makes a good, take the intestines of a demo. So anyway,
Very.
yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
good stuff. Good stuff.
All right, thank you. Onward.
Blistering performance, supreme dynamics. So, where will you fly first? Oh, and ooh la la. Yeah, that's not going to close the deal. To give your kidney to the rental car company. Beans from Brazil's best regions.
Okay. I love this voice. I love this actor. I feel like you're working. Demo's too long for demos for American agents. I know in Europe and other places you have a lot more play, but in the US 60 seconds. And I felt like energetically as we were clicking through, there was a lot of repetition of energy, even though I believed all of them. So lots of easy places to cut. I would be interested to hear more because everything kind of had this. There was one spot that like I felt like was a lot more conversational. Everything had this like cool, like I'm an awesome dude, which works for you. And so I would want to come back to this demo and listen more to see if we have more conversational forward energy as opposed to that lean back thing.
Yeah, and I would say to piggyback on that, this is where another interesting way that the sound of a thing, the production of a thing, informs the perception of performance. Because for me, because the production felt so hyped, all of the things felt more like it all felt very promo-y in terms of how kind of forward the voice was and how loud everything felt loud. That's not to say that the mix was weird. Like I could always understand everything that you were saying. It's just that everything had this like,
and not every commercial's like that, especially today.
Exactly. And not every commercial is like that. And so the reason I say this is during the spot that Brittany heard that where you did lean back into a more conversational place, because the production was still so, it betrayed the integrity of that performance and it fought against the performance. And this is a really fun thing that I take a lot of joy in exploring with our demos is, it's not about making a next level voice demo or everything sound a certain way.
No one should hear your demo and be like, oh, I know who your demo producer is. No.
It's about taking the performance that's there and then shaping the spot in such a way that is authentic to that voice and authentic to that brand, which means that the conversational stuff should feel in performance and production very different than the I'm talking to you like this and I'm gonna smack you in the face because I love you. Like all of that, they should feel different. It should not be
hype,
even though performance-wise we're softening or we're hyping up or whatever. Very interesting. or
Yeah.
flagging it purple. It was
Yeah,
very
one of the things that's interesting when you're listening to demos, and I think we can give people access to these as examples, if everybody's willing to. But notice what happens to you. Notice what happens to you physically. Like when I heard those first seconds of Itwak's, I was like, ooh, 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 and then I just kind of stayed there.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, and then there was that one that was like, "Oh, wait a minute, hold on, I gotta get my Mai Tai, hold on." But, yeah, and so, I think there's the physical thing, there was no place to go like, "Oh, wow," or, "Oh, hey, ooh," so we didn't get, I think it's another way to say what we're already saying. However, amazing, undeniable voice, and do you wanna know more? Yes. Do you
We
wanna
know
know
we know this
again?
man's
Yeah,
brand.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting, really interesting journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
very good.
All right, we're going to skip Anderson. We're going to come back to Anderson, and we will talk more about that in a minute. So we're coming back to Anderson.
All
So
right.
Scotty, you're up.
Scotty.
You're a die-hard fan of Buffalo. Not these Buffalo. This Buffalo. Extra most bestest, the most cheese and most pepperoni. Advanced technology. Part of the One Plus family. 5 modes, and the Explorer thrives on or off the pavement. The 4.
All right, so real interesting. Like,
Yeah.
talk about an
Totally different.
ear shift from the demo we just heard. It's so the first thing, it's a minute 17, and I definitely heard some repeat vibes from like an energetic personality standpoint. So Scotty, if you're looking to rework this demo, I think listening with a more keen ear to where the energies are the same,
Yeah.
and then just being more aggro in your editing of like, oh, I don't need that whole thing, I'll chop half of it out, would do you a really good service. In the spirit of less is more, leave them wanting more.
Yeah.
You never want to hear repeat energy on the demo. That's not really what we're trying to do. Is it's more about like, here's this snapshot, here's this snapshot, and here's this snapshot. Call me is what we're aiming for. From a performance standpoint, what was really interesting is the way that the vocal was recorded combined with the choice of music and how it was all put together made it feel really old for some reason. And I'm not sure how old, quote unquote, this demo is, but just the presentation of the whole thing, it was the difference between...
Felt dated.
Yeah, it was
Felt
like...
dated.
The easiest way to describe it, and I keep using music just because music is very tactile. It's like the difference between listening to a Taylor Swift song that came out last week and a 70s song
On vinyl.
on vinyl. Like you just hear the difference, and one feels like the technology was at a certain place at a certain time. That was the impression that I got from this, which for me in this moment was distracting because I was like, oh, this feels old. Okay, so he like this doesn't, I don't know if he's actively working, and it already put in my system this feeling of I don't know if I believe this. And so it was an easy way for me, if again in the context of our job where we've got 200 demos and we're going down, unfortunately this was an easy no in that context because of that impression that came out of the speakers.
And with that of like feeling dated, it puts that question of, do you still sound like this? Is this, because as humans, our voice is our instrument and it changes over the years, right? And so if something doesn't feel recent and it makes us think, is this 10, 15, 20 years old? Then it starts asking the question, do you even still sound like this? Can I trust that if I bring you in, I will get these types of sounds and performances? That being said, Scotty, I loved that first spot. I loved it. It was so, like, it made me laugh. It surprised me. And I believed all these spots. Like, I believed that they have happened. And I understand your branding as a human. It's just that question of how long ago was this made, is the only thing.
Oh, and for me, it's interesting. So this is another thing with demos and where are you going with demos? This is sort of a next a next layer of, oh, what do I do with this demo? And goes to, how would I fit on somebody's roster if I'm looking to initiate or talk to somebody about a relationship of collaborating as team members with representation. Notice, like, get an agent. No, I didn't go like, I want a boyfriend. Like, I didn't have that energy. Like, who are we choosing to be on our team to further our careers as representation? Um, so in the context of that, Scotty's voice, like, of all the demos that we heard, Scotty's voice would not be in competition with Urak, but we would, if we had James on our roster and heard Scotty's demo, we would go, how many campaigns, campaigns does James have running that he's got conflicts, right? And in which case, ooh, we need another voice like that. However, everything that's been said, it sounded dated. It sounded uh, just flatter in general than the little sparkle in the eye. Sometimes I think of like when a painter, sorry, I'm always like creating different visual and sensory things, but like in a painting, when an artist is able to just put that little fleck of white in the eye, that suddenly the whole painting is alive. Like, this didn't quite have the same sparkle. And I'm not to compare James and Scotty's performance or demos or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, in the context of if I were listening down, if I were listening down and go, oh, well, we have James. Do we need this that's a little less alive, a little more the same, and sounds like it's a little bit from another era? Um, and then I think as mature voices, we have to understand where we fit into. Because we might have been booking a million times. We might have been the booking machine in 1993. And how does our voice go now? Right. What's different? Yeah. But some really nice stuff, and it did make me laugh and make, oh, he's got a sense of humor.
He's
That's
cheeky.
yeah, yeah. So lots of good stuff. Yeah.
Thank you, Scotty.
All right, Diana.
It's not about how many followers you have or how many thumbs up you get. We make a profit, but we also spend more on safety research. Manolo Blahnik, the new collection. Now available at Neiman Marcus. Well, not today. I just put the kids to bed and stepped on a plastic toy.
Okay, cool. I would say great job on the length. Like, it was under 60 seconds. And everywhere we clicked had a slightly different flavor to it, which was awesome. Really great. For me, interestingly enough, it was hard for me to connect to the performances because, again, the production all felt so hyped. Like, everything felt like it had just been smashed into a compressor or whatever. Like, sorry, that's really technical. You don't have to know what that is. It's just for me. It sounds like it has been absolutely just lit on fire on every single spot. And because of that, the performances that felt more at ease, the performances that felt more up, the performances that felt more, hey, what's up? Like, all of them kind of had this hyped gloss over them that was a very much a disconnect from the performances. If I really focused, I could listen through it and be like, oh, but I do hear these different performances. I do hear these different levels and layers and colors and textures. However,
but for you, it's distracting.
However, that is me, like, shutting out my day, shutting out that, I have 12 million things to do and that, like, I've got 30 more casting jobs to do after this and whatever. Like, I would really have to, like, focus to get through that. And so for me, I feel like that level of distraction made this kind of like I don't know. And I would have moved on past this, even though listening through that initial layer of I'm hyped, there was some good performance variety there, and there was some great color shifts throughout the demo.
Tish, you go ahead.
Oh, I keep on coming back to the senses today, like, ooh, delicious voice, like, like from the very beginning, like, ooh, yeah, that's tasty. I got like, sometimes this happens, what people associate, like, oh, wow, Wendy Malick, watch out, because Diana's here. But that, like, if you need that Christine Baranski, that little, um, and I did hear variations. I did hear a little bit of that same thing through, which I think can be effective for a brand, but it sounded like even the mom spot had a little martini glass in it. Which can be, you could be red wine mom, and that's the point of the spot. So I think I also heard and would like to hear, what's you when you are, what's your version of, from the heart, without the um and also, like, this is another voice that I like, ooh, I want to spend more time with her. That's going to be fun. And I did feel a lot of trust. I did feel like, oh yeah, she can do whatever she can do whatever we need. I think I just wanted to, like, maybe have a few more without the makeup.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
yeah.
a great way to describe it. A few more without the makeup. Because, I mean, Diana, I like hearing this. I'm like, this is a woman who is a professional on the go, wearing makeup and high heels, ready to slay. Like, I'm here for it. I'm so here for it. And like Tish was saying, I was waiting for that moment of like, what are you more relaxed? Like, what do you sound like when you're more relaxed? Either more heartfelt or either more just like, hey, we're having a cup of coffee. We're here.
Maybe Diana's would be a good to put through, like, to
Yeah.
like through the whole.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure we do have some
And
time commercial, or to touch on.
we're
Mm.
we're starting to run out of time because we all love to chat and give all the things. So let's do this because so we can get to some of the charactery stuff too. Let's listen through Anderson's demo as a whole. And then we can pick one of the other commercial demos that we flagged to listen through more of. How does that feel?
I think that could work, and I would kind of vote for Diana's, because I feel like James's, we got like a variation.
Cool.
But yeah, well, let's see how that goes, and then
Okay.
explain.
Let's start with Diana.
Yeah, we'll start with Diana. So we're gonna listen through. Let's say Diana made it to our second pile, right? And so now we're like, okay, great. We have some questions. Does she have more relaxed, more heartfelt things? So let's listen through the whole demo and see how, if anything changes.
It's not about how many followers you have, or how many thumbs up you get, or whether you're duck facing right. It's about moments like these. Apple. At Volkswagen, we put safety ahead of everything else. Yeah, we're a car company, we make a profit, but we also spend more on safety research and equipment than any other manufacturer. The bottom line is important, and to us, your safety is our bottom line. Style, elegance, and a touch of naughty. Manolo Blahnik, the new collection. Now available at Neiman Marcus. You were expecting a warm and sensual voice for this Grey Goose vodka commercial? Maybe artistic shots of the bottle and a breathtaking wintry landscape. Well, not today. I just put the kids to bed and stepped on a plastic toy. Barefoot. Grey Goose. Therapy for parents. Please drink responsibly.
Okay. This changes some things for me. So for me, I loved when we had clicked through, I loved that first spot. The snark, I was like, yes. But as soon as I heard the brand, nope. Because Apple uses super young people. They use 20-year-olds. I have a lot of friends that do their campaigns, and for this type of commercial, the vibe was right. But they use people who are super, what is it, Gen X, Gen Z, Gen something. I don't even know. 20-year-olds. So immediately I was like, oh no, that she didn't book that spot. So immediately that put a question in my mind. And then the other spots, like we did have more for the car spot. I did feel that more relatable feel. Still a little like
Put on?
put on just a little bit. I'd want to relax even more. But I did get that. And then the Grey Goose spot, the turn didn't feel natural for their campaigns. I would have shortened it and just kept the first half, because the second half just felt like a tack on to make a joke, but it doesn't make sense with their branding.
I thought it was another spot, actually.
You what?
I thought that was another spot.
Yeah, when it switched.
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
it felt,
yeah.
it felt totally different. So it's like, so sometimes listening all the way through creates more questions than, oh yeah, absolutely. So it created more doubt listening all the way through. So something to keep in mind. That's what I heard.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
Yeah, and also there's something undeniable about Diana's voice.
Oh, of course.
Like just the quality of her voice and the strength of the snark, and then I think listening through, I could really feel a little bit that same feeling that I had with Udox of like, oh, I'm still here. Oh,
yeah.
I'm still here. Okay, I'm still here. Yeah, and just little adjustments that way. So
Diana, I want your voice. Like all this to say, I wish I had your voice.
Well, and that's a really important thing to mention is it's like, in a really weird way, the trust that your demo generates doesn't come from your voice. It comes from the overall impression of all the things working together. So you could have a fucking amazing voice. It could be the best voice. It could be like the voice to end all voices. Like nobody wants to speak anymore because your voice is just the thing. However, in your demo,
if the package lets you down,
all of that could, if, like Brittany said, if the package lets you down, if the branding isn't right, if the writing for the scripts isn't right, if the order isn't compelling, if the production choices aren't varied and aligned with your branding and the authenticity of the brands that are being represented, then all we feel is like what Tish was saying.
Yeah.
Okay. And like, even though your voice is amazing,
undeniable,
and it is great. I mean, like, great. However, the demo is more than just the quality of your voice. It's a whole package.
And these are things when you all are looking for demo producers, looking for someone to work with. If your demo producer does not have samples on their website, run away. You need to be able to listen to the demos and hear the actors. If you hear the demo producer and they all sound the same, or if you're like, wait, that doesn't sound like a commercial, trust yourself. You know more than you think. So make sure you're listening to things before you choose to work with someone.
Yeah.
And Tish, I saw you raise your hand before we...
Oh, I was just going to say, just to clarify, so Ryan, what I was articulating in the energy wasn't that I was disappointed about the next spot. It was just that the energy kept me at this level. Like
sure,
I didn't,
which is kind of a disappointment in the demo, right?
Because we want
levels.
Oh, right. Yeah, I would like to be in another place. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
Good.
Yeah.
Only that we want the ride. We don't want it all to just go up.
And so selfishly, and we saved Anderson's demo for last because we were lucky to get to work with Anderson on this demo. And we've since heard back from a lot of feedback that he's been getting from casting directors and agents and all of this, that this demo has been landing really, really well for him. And so we wanted to save it for last as an example to listen all the way through so that you could get a even clearer sense of all the things we've been chatting about today and what a demo that is landing with casting and agents and all of that feels like.
And this is like within the last couple months. Yeah, so it's very recent.
This is very recent. So
and not only agents, but top management companies, which is even beyond agents, beyond agents. So yeah.
All that to say, Anderson's awesome. So let's enjoy. Let's enjoy.
Greg got AT&T fiber, and now his internet is super fast, like hyper drive fast. Hey, Greg! He's really into streaming space stuff. Brandeis was founded not for the faint of heart, but for those looking for something more. Spirited, scrappy, and rooted in intellectual risk-taking. We have our sights set on the future. From the series Hot Wheels Let's Race comes a whole new world of racing action. Speed up, hit the track, and avoid that Cobra attack. All right, Hot Wheels Let's Race. Cars and sets sold separately. Starting your online business doesn't have to be complicated. Go to Wix.com and build your platform on a site that's engineered for success. Build, manage, and grow all from one place. Wix has it all, from treks to travel and everywhere in between. Nike has the shoe you need for any adventure. And this year, we're celebrating 60 years of Hollywood history. 60 years of thrills, chills, and whoa! The world-famous Universal Studio Tour 60th anniversary for a limited time.
I mean, Anderson's awesome. Listening, I mean, we worked on that demo, so we're a little biased.
Yeah.
However, listening to it, what I hope came through was that every single spot felt different, and it felt like the production and the sonic presentation of it aligned with the authenticity of Anderson's performance and the branding. That Nike spot is very hyped, and it has that promo-y thing, and that voice is intimate, and it's right there compared to the ending Universal one where he's like, hey, welcome to Universal, like, what's up? Like, and that feels different. And this is what we're talking about
more of that ride,
and everything not feeling like there's a gloss over it, that it's okay for the ones that are more intimate and relaxed to sound and feel more intimate and relaxed as a total package. And so, I mean, Anderson's great.
Yeah. And even like if you notice, like really super interesting. I'm just really tuned into what my body is doing on this ride, and in the same way that you'd want, like, you hear, let's say that's not right, but even in that Nike thing, it had another focus and intention, but my body wanted to go somewhere different, and then it did. Right. It had all the focus and intention of a intimate, like, yeah, Nike, let's do it. Just do it. But my body wanted to go somewhere else, and then, oh yeah, it did. And then I was in another room of Anderson's soul. And then I was in another room, like a different color, a different space. So I could feel that journey happening. For some reason, Pirates of the Caribbean comes to mind. Like,
there you go.
Oh, hey, yeah.
And so that's not to say that like every demo sounds like Anderson's. Every demo should sound different. It should feel and connect to you and your branding as a human. And this is the type of things this is the type of demo that's connecting with agents, managers, and casting. This is the ride. This is all of that stuff. So come at it from that place when you're listening to your own materials.
Yeah. One other thing that I really heard in Anderson's is that we get that he's a fresh, smart, young voice. And sometimes when I'm thinking about demos, I'll say, what are you wearing as well? And you could hear that there was that second spot that was like, this is Anderson going in for an interview or having something a little, he's young, but he's doing something a little bit more grown up or a little more official. And then Hot Wheels are cool. Yeah, come on, kids. Hot Wheels are cool because I'm a kid and you're a kid, and let's play with the cars. So there's that variation of all the facets of the cool, hip, young voice, right?
100%.
Smart, maybe a little nerdy, and also cool. Nerdy cool.
100%.
So all of that's in there. Yeah.
I love it. Well, we're, as usual, we go through so many commercials and stuff, and we're running out of time. So as a reminder, if you guys have jumped in late or all the stuff, if we do not get to your demo today, because I don't know if we're going to get to all the character demos today, or if we're not able to go super in depth, please get on all of our calendars, and we are happy to chat through in more detail with all of this stuff. So to set up,
I think you're going to set up.
Oh, sure. So to set up character demos, what we are listening for is, back in the day, say 20, 30, 40 plus years ago, a character demo was enough to show all the different voices you do, all the different range and all that stuff. Now, the video game interactive industry is very different from the animation industry. So the casting directors are listening for very different things. So gone are the days of just having a random character demo. We have heard from casting on multiple occasions. Casting directors hate it when they start listening to a demo and they're like, these are just voices. I don't know where this would fit. I don't know what show it's from. I don't know what game it'd be from. Like, I don't know what I'm listening to. So think of, when you're putting together either type of demo, character-wise, think of who it's serving. Are you trying to get into animation? If so, what type of animation? You know, we got pre-K, we got Disney XD, we have adult animation, we have Crunchyroll and anime. If it's video games, what type of video games? Are you looking for those epic worlds and all that stuff, or more kooky indie games? So these are the types of things you need to think about when you're putting together a demo, be it video game or animation. So think about who it's serving. And on top of that, it's not just about how many voices you can do. Even from the writing, it needs to feel like we know where this is coming from. If we're in battle, if we're in a Looney Tunes type thing, we need to think about all of these things, even from a writing standpoint. So that's kind of to set up the big stuff. The difference between video game and animation, from a very, there's a lot of differences, but a very simplified version is video game, it's all about your acting. How can I follow you? If I play a 40+ hour game, do I want to follow you throughout all those 40 hours without muting your dialogue? Do I believe every acting moment? When your heart breaks, does my heart break as the player? These are things to think about. When it comes to animation, and this is about your comedy. What type of comedy? What is your brand of comedy? What fun characters can you create that are both natural, like more of a natural place, but also like kooky fun voices as well? So these are all things to keep in mind. Again, that's a very simplified version.
Yeah. And then a couple technical things to keep in mind is length.
Yes.
Industry standard is still 60 seconds, whether it's an animation or a video game demo. So I cheated and I looked through some of these earlier, and most of them are around 90 seconds. So they're just to save time, 60 seconds is our goal, even with these.
Again, leave them wanting more.
Indeed. And then I think that's the big thing. Oh, and then one actionable takeaway for people who are shuffling around order and looking to kind of rejig materials and things like that. As a reminder, the first thing that comes out of the speakers sets the expectation or the stage for the next thing that comes out of the speakers. Generally speaking, from what we hear from casting and agents and managers, is it is super helpful for them, the people that are using your demo to get you work, if you start your demo with something that lives in a more natural place.
Like close to you.
Close to your non-character-y self, even on an animation thing, so that what comes next allows them to hear your range really quickly. So if you come out the gate with something that lives more closer to your natural voice and your natural energy as a human, and then launch off from there, that's just a great starting point, and that's something really actionable that you can start experimenting with if you're in that place where you're reshuffling order and all that jazz.
All right.
That's what we got. Let's listen to some demos.
And just to set some parameters, we'd like to have some time at the end for questions. So how much time will we be exploring?
Let's listen to 2 demos.
We'll listen to 2. We'll click through 2 demos. And then the ones we don't pick, don't panic, get on our calendars.
It'll just be a little contrast also of what we're looking for in animation and commercial. So
so we'll pick a video game, and then we'll pick an animation.
Well, this first one's labeled video game.
Okay.
So let's go there.
You know, this dungeon has a lot of goodies. No one to bother, plenty of plunder.
You know how much I appreciate and respect your input. But in this regard,
I ever get stuck with this guy. This will be the last.
UN's global defense capabilities will be severely Now try to hit those targets I've marked out for.
Okay, so it's 2 minutes and 17 seconds.
Yeah.
Also, what's really interesting about this is exactly what Brittany was talking about, where I don't think these come from video games.
Except the battle barks that are on comms, but the comms were really distracting. Because I couldn't hear what the acting was.
I would say not even that moment, because it didn't feel like the stakes were there, that the emotions were there, even though it sounded like he was coming through
comms,
a telephone or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So this was really interesting. I think I want to click on another video game demo just to find one that actually feels like a video game demo.
Because I think the what was coming across is a lot of the voices sounded very similar. They all had that gruff thing about them. But it felt, as a person in games, directing and stuff, it felt like voices. I didn't feel the acting. I didn't feel the scene work. For that first spot, I have no idea what you were doing, and I didn't know what game it would be from. Like I couldn't tell. Like, are you a troll character that's like looking for it was just unclear and unfocused. So I feel like that demo could just use some more focus, and the acting could be more forward. Tish, any quick thoughts before we jump to one other gaming thing?
Yeah, it seemed animated. It seemed a little put on rather than coming from within.
Yeah, but thank you, Michael, and reach out if you want to chat in more detail.
Yeah.
Let's listen to one of Aaron's things.
After the order was given, my Padawan and I, we were overwhelmed.
Charge Bolt Mirage, locked down! Oh, he's fast. Yeah, you can run all you want, but this is gonna end the same as it all.
Pulse. Cat, what are you doing? Yeah. You're not going back out there. Cat, do not switch off your HUD!
Again, hack the system, hack the explosives, free Whiskey Jack from his cell, and bang, boom!
Okay, there's so much great stuff. Aaron, like your range, delicious. Using Tish's word, I use it all the time. I'm like, delicious. That first spot, Star Wars. Absolutely. I know exactly where it's coming from. And from the performance, the script, everything feels authentic. I was like, yes, I know exactly where that is, and the performance feels real. Then as we clicked through, I felt like we lost a little bit of that. Some of the next one where it felt like we were fighting or maybe in an action moment, I just felt like we were putting on action feel, but we weren't actually fighting and actually doing things, which we want to hear absolutely in a video game demo. And then same with the on the comms. Don't take off your helmet. Don't do that. The emotion wasn't there. There was a wall. So as a performer, I felt the actor had a wall and we didn't get beyond that. I didn't feel the actual emotion underneath. So it's, Aaron, there's so many good things in there. I think you can go further, like so much further, from an acting, scene work, and emotional work.
Yeah.
And I'll admit I'm not a gamer, but I'm gaming adjacent, and I'm also like tuned into what is in the moment acting. I thought that was the first piece was great. You can feel that little moment of something's happening, and then you're back in the like that little acting moment. And then I actually felt like that the second piece is where it is like maybe a little bit more. I felt on the journey of like, oh, we're in like, oh, we're meeting this guy and the battle's on, let's do it. So like a character that had a little bit more bravado and little like, but I felt in the moment of like, oh, we're throwing things, we gotta get our thumbs in action here. So there were things like that worked, and it was a distinct. I could definitely tell this is an interactive demo, and you understand the different nature of games.
100%. And clicking through, I mean, the range, like we heard so much range, even just clicking through. So yeah.
Great.
Let's jump to an animation. We'll do Ash or Maria. Maria's fine.
Yeah, let's do Maria.
I've only been a werewolf for 4 days, but I feel like no one's scared of my house. Forget to feed her after 12. She gets very cranky when she's hungry.
Very first A+? Now my mom's finally gonna
Serve food here, but I can give you this pack of ketchup.
That does scare me. They're just gonna take my teeth.
I'm really glad we clicked on this.
I am too.
Because sonically, you can, and performance-wise, you can feel the difference between where Aaron's performances were in terms of the emotional stakes, the seriousness of it. Not to say that all game stuff has to be serious, but like you could just feel a shift in terms of this definitely felt more animated, felt more kooky and range of comedy and voices and all of that stuff. So I'm glad we clicked on that.
Yeah, I am too. A little long. I thought that the last voice we picked on was really grating on the ears, at least for the bit that we heard. You don't need it. Because we had a similar voice earlier in the demo that I'm like, oh, she can do the high baby stuff. So you didn't need that last one, because when it comes to again, for animation as well as games, when we're in an animated show, even if we're doing kooky, really crazy voices, we don't want people's ears to bleed. And that's always, I'm guilty of it. I've done it before in my auditions. So think about your listener. Like, what can a 12-year-old sit and listen to this character and like this character enough to follow them for a whole season? Just something to keep in mind. But I loved the range, and I thought the comedy and the scene work, I'd be interested to listen to more and see what else I'm missing in there.
And I know, Maria, that you work a lot in anime. I feel like it has like this particular animation demo has a leaning toward a variation within anime. So it could be interesting to see what else you're trying if there's other things in animation that you're trying to do, then maybe it's Franklin's mom or something like that there's a different feel. And I think there's so much of the work that is not in that hyper toony, heightened energy, heightened heightened format now, that it's a little bit more like, hey, what's going on? I don't know, let's go look. So that and maybe there is other stuff in between that we didn't hear, but in general it seemed to have like a good anime range. And that's something with any demo. Again, what Brittany said at the top, who is your audience? So if you're living in Texas and you moved there to do anime, then hell yeah, have an anime demo. Boom, let's show everything we can do there. And then if there's other things that you're looking for, might be aware of what is that next layer of diversification in your animation demo, which is different from what's in your thing. And then also don't freak out, because everyone doesn't need to have all the demos all at once. It's when you get focused or you start honing in on how you're delivering that genre.
That's a great point.
Sorry. One more thought. And maybe have a little something like on a commercial demo, if you have a spot that's not quite a promo, but we can interpolate like, ooh, that would be a great promo. That has cut through, that has strength. And it's still a commercial clearly, but I could use that in promo. So if you have something in one demo that is like, I could hear that in a video game. You find some variation within that clues somebody in, like, they could do that too. So yeah.
And to your point, Tish, I love that you brought this up, because a question we usually get is, oh my God, why how do I have to have all these demos to get started? You absolutely do not. Pick one, maybe two, and live with that for a while. For example, I have been working in video games for 10 years, and video games has been like my main thing for 5, all types of games. I did not have a video game demo until this year. You don't need all demos. So just like Tish said, having what we're doing when we're creating, like, let's say, we take Maria's animation demo. by saying, hey, this is an animation demo, we're setting the expectation of the types of performances we're hearing. But if I'm casting for video game, I'm like, okay, I know I'm listening to an animation demo, so they know what that is. Oh, I like that voice. I want to hear them on my copy. So I'm going to send them this character copy because I think they do really well. So you're just setting up that expectation. So any demo can open doors for you in other genres. So you don't need all things to get started, but you're just letting people know, I understand what this is. I understand what this genre is, so you can trust.
Yeah, and I think something broad that it's usually a big question that we get when we do these events is, well, where do I start?
Yeah.
Right? Your commercial demo is that's your best place to start.
Yeah.
The way that your commercial demo gets used in 2024 is as a snapshot of who you are as a human. A lot of casting is very excited right now by having characters that align with the human that is voicing said characters.
Lots of naturalness.
So your commercial demo can even open doors for you in a character sphere as well. If they hear your commercial demo, obviously they know they're listening to your commercial demo, but they go, oh man, like her voice sounds like
she's got a cool laid back vibe.
She would be really great for this character. Then you get the audition, and then that commercial demo, if that's the only demo you have, it now has gotten you auditions for a video game or auditions for an animated project. So to Brittany's point, you do not need all of these things
Please
to
don't.
get started. If you were gonna pick one and your goals were to say, get with an agent, get access to some auditions like in video games and animation or anime, start with your commercial demo and then make whatever one would be most helpful for your clients when they start asking for it.
Yeah.
When you get people saying, hey, do you have an anime demo? I'd love to share it with so-and-so. Or, oh, hey, can I hear your video game demo? Because I want to send you to so-and-so. And you're like, I don't have one of those. That is the perfect time to make one.
Yeah.
Not having it all done
figured out beforehand.
Just wait until you need it and people are asking for it, and then jump in and make the next one. As a bit of advice.
One more thing before we go to questions. What Ryan just said is also there's making demos, and then there's understanding how the business works. So if you and what you're after, if you're looking to get into high level, mainstream animation opportunities and AAA video game things, right? A lot of that access is from having a relationship with representation. So then the game becomes, okay, anime pays dick, video games pays somewhat well, but how many characters do you need to do? It's $1,000 a session and you don't get residuals. So from an agent's point of view, that's great and excellent. And there's all sorts of other discussions about how you build your video game career and going to cons and all sorts of things. It's not just that. And so if commercial is a snapshot of everything, and as someone who's looking to add to their team and all of us looking to how do we make a living and how do we make a good living out of this, it behooves you to be, if you want to get to here, then it behooves you to have a relationship with these people who have access and relationships with the people who give you those jobs. And that's where you get the opportunity. When you get to relationships with those, then the opportunities come, and it doesn't matter if you have a demo or not, because you have the relationship, so you get the opportunities to audition. And then when you have enough stuff, I'm sure, Brittany, that you didn't have to make up some stuff with 5 or 10 years worth of material of real things, right? So just that's also where it becomes, we don't look at things like demos. Demo is not, there's so many layers to demos, and then how does the demo serve the business, and what is your awareness of how that works, and then how do you make choices from there? And then also just to remember, each of us is on our own journey. We're growing our own tree. We get to a place where we got what we need in place. We have our skills, we have our awareness, we have our self-centered we are centered in ourselves, not we're self-centered, because actually it's the opposite that is really the heart of a successful voiceover person. But we have all of that, and then we decide what are we doing? what is our life going to be? Where do we live? What do we want? How do we grow our own tree from there? So hopefully this is
100%. I,
yeah.
and again, I wish that there was a, you do this, then you do this, then this will happen. I wish everyone's on their own journey. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we've got a couple of minutes. Do you guys have a couple of minutes after if we need to go after
We
12?
have 5 minutes after, because then we have
Okay,
we have a session we're directing.
15, let's do 10 minutes of questions, and then guys, we can collect these questions. We can maybe get them. Yeah, Kelsey, if you can collect all the questions, then maybe we can, write back or something, but get on our calendars. And if you have
Please.
questions, let's ask them one-on-one. So, Kelsey, can you coordinate the question things? And we'd love to hear your voice in the room.
Yes, our first question is from Michael Llewellyn. If you're still here. If you can't talk, let me know and I'll speak for you. What's the sweet spot for the first voice spot in a demo in length for first impression?
There is no such thing. Anyone who tells you that there's a cookie cutter formula, full of shit. There's no, sorry, but there is, so how it should, Ryan and I's philosophy is, and not everybody thinks this way, every actor is unique. Every voice is unique, and your demo should be the same. It should feel organic and it should feel like you. Whether that first spot is 3 seconds or 10 or 15, doesn't matter. The thing that we should walk away from, if we just listen to that first spot, do we get a sense of who you are as a human? And this can all lead to your branding. If you're a quick talking, energetic person, maybe a shorter spot would serve you. If you're more of a storyteller vibe and warm and caring, and that's who you are as a human, maybe a 15-second spot. So there's so much that goes into that. There is no cookie cutter thing.
Yeah, and I think along that lines, I think there was another question a little bit later, like how long should each thing be? I think it's really like putting a collage of yourself, and so there might be ones that are like a little longer, and then a little thing peppered in, like a little garnish, like ooh, I know in my first demo, I just had a little clip of I was like, people say I look better with my shirt on. Yeah, right. That was that, and then the out was, would you like the number to call? I bet you would. Like, so there's like just little things that you can pepper through that go like, oh, and that. Okay, cool. So it's like, it's kind of arranging the room, really, right?
100%.
Yeah. Cool. What are the questions?
Great question, though.
Yeah.
Is there a recommendation for how many spots you should include in a commercial demo?
Oh, I think we just answered that. Yeah. But maybe a particular number.
60 seconds. Yeah. And again, think about your branding. It's if you are slow talking, storytelling, building your thing, you're going to have fewer spots because you really want to lean into that. If you're quick talk, like for example, my brand, what I get booked for is energetic, snarky, youthful, upbeat. I have like 10 spots?
I don't remember, but it's
close.
Something
like 10 spots, and that serves my branding even from a just a spot thing. So again, all depends.
Yeah, great question.
Okay.
But we want each spot to bring another facet of your diamond out.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so Alex H asked this question, and I answered it in the chat, but I wanted to bring it up. Is there a quick reference guide to voice types and branding for commercial? I recommended iSpot. Do y'all have any other recommendations?
iSpot is a great resource for doing research on commercials. YouTube is a great resource as well.
The radio.
Just life in general.
Yeah.
You'd be shocked when you start keying into, I'm going to listen for it. Like if you literally woke up and you're like, I'm going to listen to every single commercial that presents itself in my world today. You'd be surprised what comes your way when you're in the car, when you're in the supermarket, when you're on the bus, when you're waiting for the train, when you're listening to your free Spotify account. So yeah, it really comes from just paying attention to the world that you want to be a part of, right? As opposed to assuming, here's what commercials sound like, or totally blindly trusting somebody to like do their version of that. It's really about making sure that you're paying attention to the world you want to be a part of, and then any demo producer that you choose to work with and collaborate with, that you also get a sense that they are also keyed in and excited by that world, and they're not just doing things to do things.
And to that point, because we're talking about demos, and I know a lot of people are on various parts of their journey, if you're working with a demo producer who does not work in animation or video game or commercials, do not throw your money away. The person you choose to work with should currently be working in the industry of the demo that you are working with them on. It will serve you so much better, and it will keep your stuff from sounding dated, all the things. I could do a TED Talk.
Yeah, I've got couple things on the how do you find things. We have a wonderful Thanksgiving tradition at the dojo that is about finding trends. So actually we'll be sending out an email about it, but it's basically making sure you plan in advance to watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, record it if you can with all the ads, and take it in and log each spot. Notice what is the gender, what is the tone, what is the quality, what is the energy, and how many times is it repeated? What is the feeling of it? Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is an ode to capitalism, and it embodies everything that we're doing. So that's a great place to hear, and those things that we come together for, where like the Oscars or the Super Bowl or things that we come together in that advertising realm are interesting places to note. But we'll be sending out things of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day, follow the trends sort of way to think about it. And there was something else I just wanted to say and I forgot it. So let's go on. Maybe I'll remember. What else? Oh, I know what it was. Hold on a second. Hold on. This just in. Last night with Jim Kennelly, who, like I said, is just on the forefront of what's going on in the world. It would behoove you also to listen to advertising in different platforms. So what's happening on streaming? What's happening on podcasts? How is advertising not just on TV or radio and the variations thereof, but where else are you receiving advertising, and what is the nature of that in terms of all sorts of layers of that? Okay, keep on going.
And it's free, y'all. Just sign up for the free tiers of everything, because that's how you get ads. And it's like,
Right,
wow,
right.
you're doing my job for me. And I get access to all this free content. You're amazing. Thank you, Amazon Prime, whatever. Like, just sign up for free stuff and they'll do it all for you. It's great.
Okay, so a lot of you asked about narration, and we actually just did an Ask the Sensei with the vice president of audio production at Penguin Random House and our audiobook sensei, Ronnie Butler. So I will, like, all of your questions that you have are answered in this YouTube video. So please go give that a watch. It's like a treasure trove of delicious knowledge.
And question, because narration is not just audiobook narration. So were the questions in here? Did the thing
they
also
were about audiobook?
All the questions were about audiobooks?
Yes, yeah,
okay.
Like academic and
Just making sure.
Yeah.
And then that if you are interested in narration, give us both a call and we can talk about specifically what and how. Narration can be something that you build your own samples that can be really impactful, because it doesn't necessarily need as much polished production as a thing. So and each realm, there's so many realms of narration, so there's strategies and things that we can talk about as well. I do think it behooves you as a well-rounded voiceover performer with a diversified portfolio to have something that allows you to work in those realms, because narration is bread and butter that we can go after ourselves. We can butter our own bread for the bread and butter of narration. So it's a really good thing to have sample, to have some way to connect with clients and deliver what you can, show what you can deliver. It's it's part of a complete breakfast for sure.
There was one narration question from Simone Williams I'm seeing. And she asked it and asked the sensei as well, and it didn't get answered. So maybe we can get it answered here.
Okay, and we got 1 more minute. Right?
Yeah. So
Simone,
what's
can
the
you come up or I'll read it?
Hey, yep, I can talk fast too. My question is, since I don't have a background of booking work, where do I grab samples? What are resources that I can use that are not going to get me in trouble with copyright? Can I grab a textbook off of my shelf? Can I grab something like Shakespeare in the public domain, even though it's not really academic narration? Like, what do I do? And should those be professionally produced like a demo?
Simone, please get on our calendar because I have a long talk for you about this because I've done the same thing, and I can go way more in depth with this question for you. When it comes to narration, just like we were talking about with commercial and character stuff, think about who you're serving, right? If you're going after corporate narration, you definitely want to aim that way. So you don't want to send them some Shakespeare, right? Or you don't want to send them medical jargon if it's not a medical company. So start thinking about those things and when it comes to samples. And yeah, get on our calendar and I'll go way more in depth with you specifically about that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
I'll do that.
know,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
And I know that Kelsey's been putting links to, Tish's calendar and to Brittany and I's calendar in the chat. You can also find Brittany and I just directly on our website at nextlevelvoicedemos.com.
Yeah.
There's a ton of samples up there. There's more information about us. We're constantly updating and rotating things because we've been very lucky to work with some amazing people and continuing to do so this year. So, go check that out for more information about us. Please get on our calendar. And also, if you stuck it out to the end right now, thank you so much for being here.
And to everyone who put their put demos in, thank you so much. You all are amazing. And that takes so much courage. And, we appreciate you letting us listen and talk through all your stuff to create teaching moments.
Yeah, really great. So thank you all.
Do we want to take a quick picture for everybody? Let's see if you have a second to bring your beautiful faces and voices. Okay, so here we go. Page 1. We still have 2 pages after the end. That's pretty good. Okay, here we go. Say demo. And there's page 2 and demolition. There we go. All right. Thanks, guys. Brittany and Ryan, you guys rock. Kelsey, thanks for keeping everything moving. Hop on our calendar. If you don't find a time on the calendar, email. So let us know because we want to connect with you. At the dojo, we are wrapping up for the year and getting ready for the new year. So we'd love to talk to you about if you're just starting out, Launchpad and workouts. If you're anywhere on the journey, our Mystery to Mastery curriculum is designed to go from I don't know to working pro. We meet you where you are and let's go. Anderson is a prime example of someone who has come with a lot of great stuff he was doing on his own and just done the whole program and has been rocking it. And then we also have You Should Do audiobooks coming up at the end of January. So all these things, we are always here for you. Thank you so much for spending this morning with us. I hope you are inspired. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are, feedback on what you took away. Share this. If you enjoyed this, share it when you get the replay and share it. This is here to disseminate good information and inspiring information to everyone. So thank you. And we'll see you all later.
Thank you all so much.
Bye, guys. Thank you again.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I forgot, Kels. Got it. Oh, we're also having a really, really good Black Friday sale. So keep your eye out for that. It has to do with Fight Club. So look for that too. So yay.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Tish.
you.